Hello, I have some templates here, and today I'm exploring how to go beyond these basic templates that are now available so that we can expand our Sashiko. Have a few different kinds. We'll do this basic pattern, then I'll show you how to use it for more. First, a quick look at the traditional way. Of course, for centuries, Japanese artisans have produced wonderful Sashiko embroidery using traditional methods. Now, though, it's just growing worldwide, really. With that growth, new methods are becoming widely available, such as templates. I'm drawing a grid here. This is the traditional way, and it's the basis for many popular designs. I have a cutting mat, a marker, and I also have a ruler. I could just measure with the ruler and not use the cutting mat at all. Of course, at a faster speed, it doesn't look too bad at all. And of course, this method has worked for hundreds of years. And it still works today. But it takes time, patience, careful attention to make a perfect grid. And then you have to know how to stitch the pattern on there. This is a 5 centimetre grid, and that is one of the commonest sizes that is drawn in traditional Sashiko. Here I have my grid, but in real time that's actually taken me quite a while to draw, and drawing is not my favourite thing to do, but today we have options. I'm going to use this simple template, and I hope you can see that when I lay it over my grid, it is also 5 centimetres, but because there are other lines in between, it cuts the stitches size down to 2.5 centimetres. So on my grid, I would then go on and sew my usual stitching and begin my pattern. But in this case, I'm going to go on and show you how to use the template. I just wanted to add in here that if you were really familiar with these designs, which as beginners most of them are not, you would know just where to stitch on these lines perhaps to make your pattern. I'm sure the Japanese artisans know that. But we don't know where to start stitching, and so probably we would have to draw the design, select the design, and then add another layer drawing that onto the fabric as well before we began stitching. So that's another thing to consider as well. Let's close with the traditional here, which I really just added in here for comparison, and move on to what this video is really about, which is the modern method with the template. I'm using Essex linen and this simple template. I cut the linen about the right size for the template before I began. I like this pattern just as it is, and I've used it often. But keep watching because I'm going to show you how to do the pattern, but then add to it, make it something more than the simple design you see on the template. Have to be really careful with this too though. I want it to stay exactly in place while I'm drawing, so I'm putting a couple of pins through the holes at the top to ensure it doesn't move. You could use a couple of little pieces of tape, that would work too. Adding a little more light, that's better. I'm going to use this friction heat erasable pen for this. And I'm still holding the template very firmly because I really don't want it to move. And then I'm just carefully drawing in each line. And again, you really have to take your time and be careful. You want to make sure your line fills properly the space that's made by the template, or the pattern still is not going to work out. So this still takes time and care to attention, but it is still quicker than the traditional method. I'm just going to go up and down all these rows. That's finished. Let's remove the template and have a look underneath. And I think you can see that all looks good. Nice clear marking. And it's ready to sew. I'm going to begin with a knot. And this is how you do a traditional Sashiko knot. Hold the tail end, wrap the thread around the needle 3 times, hold that wrapping carefully and pull the needle through. Pull quite slowly so it doesn't knot in the wrong place. With my Sashiko symbol. I'm loading all the stitches for this one row onto the needle at once. It'll give me a straighter line, but I'm also being really careful to hit the right points that are made by my markers. And I'm just going to push my needle through and pull it through the whole length. And of course do my protection control. Here the stitches have all been done in one direction, and you could see that you could just use that too on Sashiko, especially Borrow. I use this particular pattern a lot. I've also started doing, as you can see at the top, the stitches in the other direction, and again as little crosses. I use those a lot, especially on jeans repair, little bags, things like that. It's this really simple stitch, and it just looks really good for something so plain, really. But I'm going to show you what to do to make it look fancier. So we'll finish this little bit, keep watching and see what to do next. See how you can do so much more with this one template. sew all the rows, and this is what you've got. That part of the pattern's finished. It's a good pattern, isn't it? I like it. But now, as promised, we're going to go ahead and do more. Going to start in the centre and do a diagonal row. So you need to make sure that you put your needle in and out of the points of the crosses, and you are not joining the 2 points of each cross together as though you were making it into a box. You are joining cross to cross. Now I'm going to make this a close-up where you can see that better. If it's not very clear, I'll try and add a diagram at the end for you. It's actually very simple. I might be making it sound more complicated than it is. I am actually going slowly and carefully because I want my needle to actually touch the point of the cross each time I go in and out. That's how you get the best results. Do you see there how each cross is linked one to another? And now I'm going to go down the opposite side. The centre row there is completed, and we're going to diagonally do the same rows across this, but we're going to miss every other row of crosses. So where I've laid my pen over that row of crosses, you won't stitch there, you'll skip to that next one. And then again, you're just sewing it in just the same way. You're linking the crosses together. And now I'm just going down the other side of that row. What you have now is a row of chains and a row of crosses alternating. And I'm just going to continue doing that all the way along. And it looks good at that, but here I've started to do more. Still working on the diagonal in the opposite direction. I'm going to repeat those pattern rows. Now, I'm not planning to do all this on camera because it is exactly the same as I showed you going in the other direction. You're still going to do alternate rows, so you're going to have a row of the cable looking and then a row of the crosses. After I've completed this though, I'll show you how you can actually really go too far with the pattern, and I'll show you what happened when I did even more stitching on one of these little samplers. First though, let me show you the result of this one. So continue up and down every other row of crosses on the diagonal, and we'll look at the end. Here it's finished. Do you like that? It's actually one of my favourite patterns just from that simple template. I hope this diagram makes it a little clearer that you're making a chain, not a box. This is the same pattern but done on every row instead of alternate row. And it's just too much. It's stiff. It's a little bit crinkly despite my tension control. It's dense. As always, mistakes are good for learning. The traditional craft is very important, but it's also great to have these innovations for today's audience. We have the choices to use either method, whatever suits. I hope you'll try these out, and let's spread the word of Sashiko.